Are you wondering, can I make money on Turo? In today's video, I'm going to tell you the top things you need to know if you want to start making money on Turo as a beginner. Let's get into it. All right, so first thing you're probably wondering is, can I actually make money on Turo? Well, the short answer to that is yes. However, the amount of money you can make will greatly depend on a couple different factors. First being the location in which you live. So this one is probably the most important. If you live in the middle of nowhere, you're probably not going to be making a lot of money on Turo. But if you live in a location where people either go for business or pleasure or just stop by through on their way to somewhere else, you probably have a good chance of making some money on Turo. Second factor is going to be how often you decide to actually rent out your car. So this is something that's in your control. If you decide to rent out for the entire year, you are going to make substantially more money than somebody who decides to do only weekends or only weekdays. Third factor is going to be how close you live to a high demand delivery area. So these are going to be destinations, airports, any place that a lot of people are going to be coming into for any particular reason and are not going to have a car available to them. So they're renting on Turo. Last factor is going to be what kinds of cars you have to offer. So this is going to be a pretty wide spectrum, everything from an economy car all the way up to a Lamborghini. More expensive cars are going to rent for more money. But there is a flip side to renting out expensive cars, is they require a lot of maintenance. They require expensive maintenance. And Turo's insurance only goes up to a certain amount of money. So keep that in mind when you're deciding what kind of car you want to rent on Turo. Taking all of that into account, the average host will make between $500 to $1,000 a month on each car. Now that you know that you can actually make money on Turo, next step is setting your listing up for success. The first part of setting your listing up for success is clear, well-taken professional photos. You're going to need at least 6 to get started, and clear, well-taken professional photos are going to be a key differentiator between that guy's car and your car. Next part of setting your listing up for success is describing your car thoroughly. First part of describing your car thoroughly is going to be your basic information. That's going to be number of seats you have in the car, cargo space, what kind of car it is, generic things that most people are going to need to know before they rent your car, but don't want to necessarily look up on the internet. Second part of describing your car thoroughly is going to be special features. These can include any kind of option that you have on your car, sunroof, heated seats, anything like that. You can also add custom features that you've done to your car, including a car stereo, lift kits, body kits, any sort of modification that's going to make your car more utilitarian or going to be a luxury that not every car is going to have. Adding these features is not only going to beef up your listing, but it's also going to differentiate you between the competition as well. Next step in setting up your listing for success is writing a unique description. This is where a little bit of personality can go quite a long ways. This is your chance to demonstrate your local knowledge. You can tell your guests about anything that you think would be interesting in your locale. It could be restaurants, museums, any sort of attraction that a guest might want to go to. This is a great place to put information if you live in a destination area, a beach, or any sort of large city where there's a lot of things to do, but guests aren't really going to want to search for that kind of stuff. So you can fill that void with your own local knowledge. Something else you could put in your description, depending on what kind of car you're renting, is the under the hood facts. Some people will rent sports cars, and a lot of people will like to know horsepower, 0 to 60 times, as well as trucks. And people will want to know how high is the lift kit, does it have 4-wheel drive, any sort of mud tires, things like that. You can also include in the description that will help differentiate you. So last thing about writing a unique description is length. You want to have at least 100 words. And the reason that is important is because Turo says on their website that they boost you in the search rankings if you have a longer description. So at least 100 words is apparently the trigger, but more is always better as long as it's not too long. Next tip for making money on Turo is optimizing your settings. So first setting we're going to talk about is availability. And as the name suggests, availability is a calendar-based system that tells Turo when your car is available to be rented. Availability is going to be one of the most important settings to keep updated because you do not want somebody booking your car when it's either in the shop, you're unavailable to tend to it or deliver it, or you just don't want it to be listed at that particular time. Keeping your availability up to date is crucial in order to avoid cancellations. You do not want cancellations because they both affect your performance rankings as well as guest satisfaction, which Turo takes very seriously. Next up is making your car available on the weekends. According to Turo, 40% of bookings are either on a Friday or a Saturday. That's nearly twice as much as a weekday. Additionally, you want to keep an eye out for long weekends. So those are going to be holidays where either people will have a Friday or a Saturday off. These are great opportunities to make a little extra money because people will often book trips on those days, and you can make sure that you get those trips if you have your availability open and ready for them to book. Last thing on availability is planning for peak seasons. So Turo has a peak season that they often have a lot more bookings, and those are generally on your summer to fall and fall to winter breaks. So those are going to be your April to August and October to December timeframes. You want to make sure that you optimize your availability for those times because those are when you're going to get the most bookings and make the most money on your car. Next up on optimizing your settings is pricing to perfection. Turo has two methods for setting their pricing. They have their automatic system, which is some sort of algorithm that they've come up with their own to measure out demand and set prices accordingly. They also have a manual system, which can be useful sometimes, but I find tedious, especially when you're starting out. You're probably best off to just set it and forget it with the automatic system. Now, that doesn't mean you always want to have it on automatic, especially if you are active in your community and you know of certain events that are going to be driving traffic to your location. It can be advantageous at certain points to change to manual pricing and change the price of that day, especially if you know that you're going to be getting a lot of traffic. That way you can maximize what you know and Turo doesn't. Additionally, one of the easiest ways to grab bookings is to be more competitive on pricing. A great way to break into a market is being competitive on your price. Now, that doesn't mean you want to rent your car for $5 a day, but if you do some market research and see that your car is listed for something similar to an all-star host level, you may want to drop your price down a little bit to kind of boost those bookings until you can get to all-star status. When I first got started, this is exactly how I got bookings. I did some market research and found that cars in my particular economy range were renting for a certain price. I went in and I changed my minimum to be just below what other people were charging, and I got bookings flowing in from that. Ultimately, that gave my listing the traction that it needed to take off and help get bookings all throughout my time renting on Turo. Next up in optimizing your settings is instant booking. So as the name suggests, this is a feature where guests can instantly book your car without your approval. Now, as scary as that might seem, you actually want this feature on because it can be very important in grabbing those last minute bookings. While you don't get to approve the trips, all guests are going to be vetted through Turo somewhat. However, I would recommend leaving it on if you can, because according to Turo, instant bookings are one of the key things that are going to boost your search rankings, is keeping it on, because people love to book last minute trips and they love that instant gratification of clicking the button and seeing that the trip is booked and not having to wait on you for 4 hours to come in and click the button in the app to approve them when you would have anyway. Turo does provide some granularity in terms of when you want guests to be able to instantly book. You can do it on 3 different levels, either pickup, where your car is at home location. You can do it for deliveries, and that is going to be where the guest location is, or you can do it for deliveries at a specific location, typically airports or hotels. So good thing with that system is that you can have it set for instant pickup, where it'll be at the home location, or you can turn it off for deliveries, which is what I recommend because it can be kind of scary sometimes if somebody instantly books and you have something going on, you need to deliver the car. It can be a little nerve-wracking. Overall, I would recommend keeping instant booking on if you can because it has boosted my listing and it is where I've gotten the majority of my bookings. Next tip in helping you make money on Turo is knowing your vehicle protection levels. Turo has 5 levels of vehicle protection. Each of them offer reimbursement in case of damage up to the cash value of your car in case of damages that occur during the trip. Included in each plan is $750,000 of liability insurance provided by a third party, which at this time is travelers, but could change in the future. First up is the 60 plan. So this is going to be 60% of the earnings that you make, you get to keep, and Turo will keep the other 40%. So this is going to be the most protective plan that Turo offers, but is also going to be the most expensive in terms of the rate they take. So in the 60% plan, Turo will pay for 100% of eligible damage, meaning that you have no deductible in this plan as long as they approve the damage claims. This plan will also reimburse you for interior and exterior wear and tear. Another great feature of this plan is if something happens to your car, they include a loss of rental income to reimburse you for your car not being on Turo while it is getting repaired. They also offer a $50 a day reimbursement for a rental vehicle. However, you have to take either or. You have to take the loss of income or you have to take the rental. You can't have both. Next up is the 75 plan. As the name suggests, you get to keep 75% of the money that you make, and Turo takes 25%. So this plan is going to offer a little bit more money, but also a little bit less protection. So in contrast to the 60 plan, this plan does have a deductible, but it is not too bad at $250. Also in this plan, you do not get loss of rental income, but you do get $30 a day for a replacement vehicle while yours is being repaired. Another thing to keep in mind with this plan is that it does not offer reimbursement for interior and exterior wear and tear. Next up is the 80 plan. So the difference with this one is that your deductible has gone up. It is now $750, and you do not get rental reimbursement on this particular plan. Next plan is the 80 plan. So with this one, the only thing that has changed is your deductible. We've gone up from $750 to $1,625. Lastly is going to be the 90 plan. So this is going to be your highest risk, highest reward plan, where your deductible has gone up as well, and this one is going to be $2,500. So I would make sure with this plan that you can either cover that deductible, you're not worried about it, or anything like that, because $2,500 is quite a lot of money. Next tip in helping you make money on Turo is preparing for your trip. First step in preparing for your trip is going to be messaging your guests to coordinate location, drop off, and pick up. I have a system where I use CarSync. It is a really cool app that is free, I believe, that you can use, and you can write pre-selected messages to send out in case of all kinds of different actions. Either somebody rents your car, they send a message, anything like that. I recommend using it because it is pretty simple and straightforward and really helps me cut down on managing all the bookings because I can just set it and forget it. In CarSync, you can set pre-written messages for all sorts of different actions. The most common one that I use is when somebody books a trip, I will have a predetermined message based on whether or not they're picking up or I'm delivering to an airport, and it will list what they can expect, pickups, lock boxes, anything like that that you want to put in there. Next up is cleaning and disinfecting your car thoroughly, following Turo's enhanced cleaning and disinfecting guide. This is going to be a key step in getting your car ready because people don't want a dirty car. Also, Turo has a system of putting a badge on your listing if you enroll in the enhanced disinfecting program. I have a sneaking suspicion that it also boosts you in your search rankings. So if I were you, I would enroll in that program and just do it every trip. Next up in preparing your car is refueling or recharging. So this is going to be important. Technically, you could deliver a car with either half battery or half gas tank, but I don't recommend it. It is not a good practice to do because people don't want to fill up the car or charge it as soon as they get it. Also, if somebody doesn't return your car either charged or fully fueled, this is a great opportunity to file a reimbursement claim in which you'll get $10 on top of whatever gas you spend or charging time you need. Next up is taking clear, well-lit pre-trip photos. This is going to be really important because this is how Turo determines if damage done is going to be something that they pay out or something that you're just going to have to live with. They do this by comparing your pre-trip photos to your post-trip photos, so you're going to want to make sure that you take good photos of your car, both interior and exterior, before you rent it out so that you have proof in case of any sort of damage during the trip. Next step in preparing for your trip is going to be checking your guest in. So this is done through the app. Turo also requires you to verify driver's license. I do this typically if I'm dropping off through contactless. I will have the person upload a selfie of their license and themselves. Or if I'm there, I will just manually verify, hey, this is you on your license. This is you here picking up the car. You're all set. Next tip for helping you make money on Turo is knowing the revenue streams that you can generate. So first revenue stream on Turo is your daily price. This one is going to be your main money maker. It's essentially how much money you're going to be charging for your car per day. And then Turo does their calculations in terms of discounts that you get, last minute, early bird, all kinds of things like that. So this is going to be why you want your pricing optimized, because this is where you're going to make the majority of your money. Next revenue stream is going to be fees. So as a host, Turo provides you the ability to charge for certain things. Those are either going to be inconveniences or something that's clearly against Turo's terms of service. The most common fee you are going to charge is going to be for gas. A lot of times people are running late and they don't have time to fill up your car, which is fine, but Turo does offer the ability to have a reimbursement done where they will charge the guest for the gas and then add on an extra convenience fee of $10. This can be a great cherry on top because adding that extra $10 can really add up, especially if you're doing quite a lot of trips and a significant portion of those people don't refill your tank. Next up is cleaning fees. So this is something that you can charge if your car comes back trashed. That can mean a lot of different things, and Turo is very big on physical evidence, so it will need to be something that you can see rather than smell. So this is one where you're going to have to use your best judgment. A lot of times cars will come back with a little bit of dirt, but nothing too crazy. Other times the car will come back full of paper wrappers, crackers, dirt ground into it. So just use your best judgment when using this because Turo is very big on physical evidence. You'll need to prove to Turo that this was an inconvenience caused by the guest, as well as provide that physical evidence for them to determine. However, in my experience, the cars are usually very clean. Some guests will even offer to vacuum it for you, as well as go through the car wash. I usually say that's not necessary, but some people will do it anyway. If you do decide to go through with a cleaning fee claim, you will get $150 if it is approved. Next up is your pet fees. So Turo does offer a system where you can be pet friendly and give written permission to have a pet in the car. They do also provide a method for making sure that people don't abuse this. The biggest thing is going to be pet hair. Turo needs physical evidence, and pet hair is going to be the easiest one to prove because you can see pet hair. Depending on the type of animal, pet hair can be very hard to get out. So Turo provides a method for removing that, and you will get $150 on each successful pet fee claim. Next up is the smoking fee. This one is going to have the highest burden of proof because it's very hard to prove a smell. In this instance, you're going to want to have physical proof if you decide to file a smoking claim. That can either be cigarette butts, ash, anything like that that you can physically prove is from either smoking marijuana or tobacco. While it is hard to prove, smoking fees are going to make you the most money at $250 per occurrence. Turo does also take smoking very seriously. They say in their terms of service that if a guest is found to have smoked in a car, they will remove them from the platform. Next up are cancellation fees. So Turo does provide you some sort of benefit if somebody cancels last minute. For Turo, that is going to be within 24 hours of the trip starting. So Turo has two different ways of providing a cancellation fee to the host. First being if the trip is going to be more than 2 days. Second is if the trip is less than 2 days. So if the trip is more than 2 days, you are going to get 1 full day's average trip plus half of any delivery fee that would have been charged on the trip. If the trip is less than 2 days, you're going to get half of the average daily trip price plus half of a delivery fee if applicable. All right, so now that you know about fees, I want to tell you something very important, and that is to not abuse this system. A lot of hosts will abuse the system, and it's just not good for anybody. It's bad for guests, it's bad for you because you will eventually be banned for abusing the system, so just don't do it. Fees should always be a cherry on top. Extra compensation for any sort of inconvenience or rules broken by the guest. They are not a money-making scheme, so just be aware of that and don't abuse them. Additionally, with fees, there is a burden of proof. I've talked about it a little bit in some of the other sections, but Turo is very big on physical evidence. If you can't take a picture of it, if you can't physically prove it, then you're going to have a hard time getting these fees. Next up is timely reporting. Turo works on a 24-hour time frame after your trip to report most of these. Take it from me, I've had this happen before. Make sure you take photos and make your claims within 24 hours after the trip ends, or else you could be in trouble. I personally have had a smoking claim that almost got denied because the person returned their car 2 hours after the trip had ended. It was a mess, and then I waited, unfortunately, until the next day to go get gas and go take pictures of all the smoking, and I almost got declined because technically I was after the 24-hour mark, but the guest had returned the car 2 hours late. So I was able to finagle my way out of it, but just remember that is not the ideal way of doing it. Next up in revenue streams on Turo is going to be extras. So as the name suggests, extras are something that are unique to guests that you can offer to make your car more compelling and the trips more interesting. So there are a lot of different extras that you can add. Some people will do outdoor equipment, child safety seats, GPSs. Some people will even do unlimited mileage or prepaid fuel. So just be aware of those because they can make you a lot of money, especially if people will grab those on a lot of your trips. Next source of income is going to be damage claims. So just like anything else, you have 24 hours to report these to Turo. Always make sure you're doing these timely because if not, Turo will decline your claims. So if you're handling a damage claim with the guest, a lot of times you'll be handling it with their insurance, which will pay you out as part of their rental policy or something like that. If not, you're going to have to handle that through Turo, especially if the guest is not communicating with you or something like that. So if Turo is handling your claim, there's going to be 3 distinct steps. First one is Turo is going to determine the validity and the eligibility of your claim. Second is they're going to have a third-party appraiser appraise the damage. Usually they'll do this based on photos, but if they can't really get a good grasp of it, they will send somebody out to you and then they can appraise it right then and there. So once those 2 steps are complete, Turo will pay out your eligible repair costs after your deductible if you have one. All right, so the last stream of income is going to be total loss. So if your car is badly enough damaged, it could be declared a total loss, which means it either can't be repaired or is going to be too expensive to repair in contrast to how much the car is worth. So in order to make these determinations, Turo uses a industry standard called actual cash value. Turo will typically engage a third party to do this. So depending on what they determine is the actual cash value, they're going to take out your deductible and then pay you the difference. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. What I need you to do is go down to the comments and leave us a suggestion for what video we should do next. See ya.